I had asked Brother Shazwan to put on chat a report that has been produced about 3 years ago, maybe on higher education in ASEAN, and my presentation, although it is not based on that report, will benefit from some of the data. And I think the fact that we have with us participants from Myanmar, from Cambodia, from Philippines, and Brunei, at least 4 of the countries, will benefit from that report. And we also welcome our participants from Australia. Yeah, so Shazwan may put the link to that report in the chat, and I hope you will have time to go through whenever you are interested. And even if you don't, it's okay, because I will try to mention some of the challenges that we face. Okay, what I'm trying to do today, I don't have many references to articles and or even books or reports here, but the main idea of what I want to present in this session is to actually tell you that as graduates, some of you I notice in the participant list, some of you are already having your undergraduate. At least I saw there are some of you who are doing your masters now, and then a huge number of you are, either in undergraduate studies, various disciplines, in all the 5 countries. Basically, the central point that I want to convey to everybody is, as Muslims that have higher education, you are all leaders in your community. I think this is a very central message that all of you need to understand. And therefore, as leaders in your community and in your country, there is a huge responsibility that all of you face, right? And I would like to convey this message through the example of the International Islamic University Malaysia, where I come from, where Prof. Fauzan comes from, where Datuk Jamil also comes from, where Alfin also, received his, or is going to receive, inshallah, his PhD very soon. Yeah, and I would like to share with you the case of the International Islamic University Malaysia. Now, the IIUM is an Islamic university, and therefore the philosophy of education, and you will hear a lot more about this from Dr. Ali Zaman when he speaks, I think, tomorrow. The philosophy of education in IIUM is one that promotes an integration of knowledge. All right. It was established, the university was established in 1983. We had ICOL, Ahmad Ibrahim Kuliah of Laws, as well as the Kuliah of Economics and Management Sciences, and the Department of Economics, from which Dr. Jamil was there as one of the pioneers, and I was there as the first batch of students. The mission of this university is very relevant to all of you. All right. Now, what is that mission? The mission was to produce graduates who are professionals, as well as graduates who are imbued. The purpose of IIUM was, on the one hand, to produce the kind of graduates that are needed in your society, in your country. If I can put it in very simple way, to become the economists, to become the businessmen, to become the managers, to become the CEOs, to become the accountants, to become the bank managers. We need to produce graduates who are professionals. But at the same time, the mission of the International Islamic University was to make sure that these professionals that we produce, and today we have almost more than 100,000 graduates, not only in Malaysia, but all over the world, right? Not only to produce the professionals, but to also produce good graduates, male and female, who are imbued with the Islamic worldview, who are imbued with Islamic values, and when they carry out their professional duties, they do that with ethics and morality. And when I say ethics and morality, I'm talking about the wider meaning of ethics and morality. In other words, if you are a bank manager, if you are a finance person, if you are an economist, you are doing it with moral responsibility. Yeah, we are not professionals who do things only to make money for the company. We have a bigger purpose in life, right? So this is the goal of the IIUM. And later on, at the end of the presentation, I will share with you what our IIUM song. Now, Alfin should know the song because he has been in IIUM for the last maybe 4 or 5 years. But the IIUM song, it is something that I feel, really embodies what our mission and vision is all about, which should be your vision and mission, right? Although I do agree, if you are not in an Islamic university, yeah, if you are in your university in your own countries, most of the time, the universities in your country will follow a national philosophy, right? And even most of the time, these universities all over the world emulate the Western university model. What do we mean by this? It teaches the natural sciences. It teaches the social sciences. It teaches the humanities. It will be producing economists, it will be producing engineers, producing lawyers, all the various areas. But the underlying philosophy is basically a secular humanistic philosophy, right? So religion is not something that gets included in your formal curriculum if you are studying in economics or business or engineering, etc. All right. Now, it is possible for some of these universities, maybe in Brunei, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, to have faculties of religion or faculties of Islamic studies. It's possible, right? Maybe even in Thailand, yeah, you have a faculty of Islamic studies. In Philippines, I think you will have certain universities, maybe in the southern part of Philippines, that will have maybe a faculty of Sharia or Islamic studies. Yeah, I believe that there are efforts to establish an Islamic university in Cambodia. Yeah, and we hope also there will be efforts to improve the teaching of religious knowledge in Myanmar, as well as in maybe in Australia, you may also have some faculties of Islamic studies or at least programs in Islamic studies. But the idea of integrated knowledge means that these cannot be separated. Okay, one of the challenges that are always mentioned in the International Institute of Islamic Thought, right from the early days, is one major challenge of dualism in education. Now, all of you, I'm sure, can appreciate it. In your countries, you will have your national education system, and then you will also have maybe your Islamic education system. All right? In Malaysia, we will call it the national school system, and then we will call it, maybe we have a sekolah pondok or madrasah, yeah? Or we may have ma'had, yeah? That produce Islamic studies or give Islamic studies education. Similarly, in universities, you have the professional faculties, and then you may have faculty of Islamic studies. But all of these are separated. They are not integrated. So what we are talking about is an integrated curriculum. The need for us not only to become professional economists, not only to become the ustaz, if you study fiqh, etc., but to be able to do both. right? And I think this is the challenge for all of you, because in minority Muslim countries, this is not something very easy to do, all right? It will be a challenge for you as a student in a minority Muslim country, for you to be able to get both. And this is where, you have to take extra effort, right? Muslims must be leaders in our own field, in our country, in our community, especially if you have higher education, right? So you must master your own discipline. So if you're doing economics, you must become somebody who understands economics. If you are doing business studies, if you're doing accounting, you must get the knowledge of your own discipline, all right? There is no excuse in this. At the same time, you have to spend extra effort to gain knowledge of your Islamic heritage, what we call in the IIIT literature, Turath al-Islami. And today's program is one such effort. You are putting extra effort coming in the weekend to attend the summer camp, because you are trying to get some extra inputs into your formal education. You are now trying to add informal education. So IIIT is providing that opportunity for all of you to gain insight into your own heritage. All right. So the ideal is you should be able to integrate the Turath al-Islami with your discipline. Right. And later on, when I share with you the IIUM song, basically the wording is very good. Yeah, we are leaders, right? We have to integrate revelation and reason. We must excel. We must do our best. We must succeed in this ability to do both. Yeah, very, very important. Graduates of universities must be agents of change. But this change is not any change. It must be change for the better of the ummah. It must be change for the betterment of mankind, for everybody. All right. So this challenge that all of you face is firstly to get Islamic awareness, to get the requisite knowledge, both in your professional area as well as in the Turath al-Islami, and then to put it into practice. And I think this is where your biggest challenge will be, because in minority Muslim countries, sometimes putting your knowledge into practice is not going to be easy. Right? So maybe you will have some questions later. We can take this up. Yeah. Now, but as graduates, all of you are a very privileged group. Now, I in the report that I've asked Shazwan to put in the chat, it is a report on higher education in ASEAN, 2016 or 2017, although a few years old, but I think it gives you some good statistics. In Cambodia, the figure given is about 16% of the population or of your cohort between the age of 20 to 25 or maybe 28 has a higher education degree. So all of you, you are one of those 16%, right? If you are a graduate, you are that small group of people. In the Philippines, depending on which report you read, it can range from 28% to 36% have higher education, right? In Myanmar, the figure is 14%. In Brunei, it is 32%. In Australia, it is 40%. This is the report that is being produced here. You may want to update the report with some latest figures, but certainly for ASEAN countries, you are part of a very small group, all right? And if you are Muslims, this is even a smaller percentage, right? So you have a major challenge. How are you as the intelligentsia in your society? And some of you will become intellectual. But later on, if you decide to do masters and PhD, the percentage becomes even smaller, right? So as the leaders in your society, right, how do you behave? How do you actually portray yourself? And this again, I will go back to the IIUM song. We are Khalifah, right? That's the whole idea of the role that we play. And you have to carry out this duty as an amanah, as an amanah. And it's not an easy thing for us to talk about amanah. It requires knowledge, and it requires how to translate the knowledge into action, right? And then even if you talk about your role as leaders, firstly, it is leaders to your own self and to your family. It is leaders to your community, all right? And finally, it is leaders to your bigger group in your country, to the society at large, Muslims and non-Muslims. Why? Again, the IIUM song will say that the purpose of IIUM and all not just to become leaders and you only think of yourself. You are an accountant, you are a businessman, you are an economist, you are an engineer, and you only keep this knowledge and the benefit to yourself. No, it has to be for the betterment of everybody, for humanity, right? So this word rahmatan lil alamin. Okay, so what do you need to do as Khalifah? Whatever you do, you need to be the leader. You have to do whatever it is you're going to do as an amanah. It is a trust. Do your duty with trust. You have to do it in the spirit of Iqra. I think Prof. Fauzan had talked about this a lot. Yeah, the spirit of Iqra, Surah Al-Alaq. We acquire knowledge in the name of Allah. We acquire knowledge from our revelation as well as from our universe. We understand this and we develop our disciplines through integrating this knowledge. And then after we master the discipline, after we graduate, we have to put it into practice. We have to make the world a better place. All right. Now, if I had the internet, in fact, I do think I have it, but I have to go back in. But in the meantime, I hope, Brother Shazwan, you could play the clip of the IIUM song. Please try to follow the wording at the bottom, yeah, because it's exactly all the things that you need to do. So if Brother Shazwan can share the video.
Lead the way, light in the future, share the wisdom to the spirit of Islam, revelation and reason shall excel, shall prevail, merging faith and knowledge, we the Khalifah, we will fulfill the amanah. Together, we make the world a better place forever. Expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of Rahmatan lil Alamin.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, Brother Shazwan. This time I think we managed to get clear, at least we got the song, we could hear it, and we could also read the wording. Thank you very much. At the end of the song, you would have seen that the words, the lyrics, were actually composed by our third rector, Professor Muhammad Kamal Hasan. And really it represents, I think, what our purpose is. Whether you are IIUF student or you are a young Muslim soon to be graduate in your own country. Yeah, you have a duty to become a leader and to not only be a professional, but also to imbue the Islamic worldview and values in whatever you do. I think I want to stop here. It's 12 o'clock. I would like to give as many people as possible the opportunity to make a comment or to ask a question. So I give it back to Alfin. Maybe you can get some students to ask some questions. Alfin, are you there?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for your very interesting presentation. So recently you were discussed on the importance of integration of knowledge and how we can master our own discipline and make extra effort to excel or to study the Islamic heritage or the Torah of Islamic. And in the presentation, you also mentioned about we should become an agent of change, the change for the betterment of Ummah. And we should be aware of an Islamic awareness and put things in practice, which is very challenging. And how do you portray ourselves as a Khalifa and Amanah? So I think that is very interesting, and I'm now open the floor to participants. So any queries, any question or comment, please raise up your hand or unmute yourself and directly ask to Professor Aslam. Okay, participants, any question? Okay.
Hold on. I have one question.
Okay, Radha.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rada and I'm from Cambodia. And I'd like to ask Professor Aslam one question. Professor, I don't have any much knowledge of how is there any minority, any non-Muslim states that have Islamic university, and I guess that there are, and I want to ask you what are some key challenges of opening, of establishing a higher institution, Islamic higher institution in non-Muslim states, and how do those countries deal with this problem, and is it how can we make it applicable for Cambodia?
Well, thank you very much. Rada, are you from Cambodia?
Yes, I'm a Muslim from Cambodia.
Okay, so if you are from Cambodia, then basically there is an effort to set up a Islamic university in Cambodia. I need to get out. I have some.
I cannot hear you.
There's some echo, Prof.
I have the old. Let me get out of this. I'm not sure.
Or maybe I mute the first one. Yeah, I can mute the one through phone.
Okay, is that better now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, so basically we are talking about Islamic universities in non-Muslim countries or in Muslim minority countries. Our challenge, of course, is getting the political will to establish this kind of institution. Right? This will be a major challenge. Um, Second challenge will be the teachers, the lecturers. The third challenge will be curriculum. As I mentioned just now, many universities just set up an Islamic faculty, right? They set up an Islamic faculty and then they have a separate faculty of economics. Our idea is an integrated faculty. This idea is not something very widespread yet. Yeah? Even in universities like Al-Azhar, the university where Islamic knowledge is most well known, they don't necessarily talk about integration. Okay, so that will be, I think, the big challenge. So we need political will. We need the people who are going to be in the university, and thirdly, curriculum. Yes, any other question?
Okay, Prof. Yeah. So from participants, any other queries or question, comments?
Yeah,
Please
I have a
raise
question.
your hand or...
Assalamualaikum. I have one question.
I have one
Alaikum
question.
salam.
I'm from Cambodia. So, as we know that in Malay, some students have good opportunities to study at Islam University, but unfortunately for some students, they did not have a chance to study there. So, for example, in Cambodia, as me, as a Muslim, but we live in the Buddhist country, and we in our university just focus only the major, not religion. So how can we handle between the study and work between the religion?
So thank you very much. Sorry, this is Kim Lang, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question. As I mentioned in the presentation just now, for those of you who are in minority Muslim countries, you have an extra responsibility, right? And this is why I believe programs like this that we are organizing, that IIIT is organizing, must be programs that you take full advantage of. You are right in not only in Muslim minority countries, even if you are in a Muslim majority country, if you go to many universities in that country, they are also just like your universities. It only teaches the professional subjects, right? Unless you want to become Ustaz or Ustazah, you will then join Islamic college or you will go to the Faculty of Islamic Studies. So it is common even in Muslim majority countries. Yeah? But I suppose in Muslim majority countries, there are more opportunities that we have. There will be more, avenue for us to go and get some knowledge of our heritage. But in minority countries, it is a bigger challenge. That is why the community is very important, right? So I noticed that in today's session, we have 87 participants or 86 participants, if I remember the list. And in Cambodia itself, there may be about 30 of you in this camp, right? So at one level, the 30 of you, you need to make sure you keep in touch after this program, keep on discussing with each other, and to join further programs that are organized. At the same time, you have also, through this program, you have got a link to your brothers and sisters in Philippines. in Brunei, in Australia, that you use this opportunity to keep the links and to continue the discussion later, and to keep coming. And I'm quite sure that IIIT will organize further program in the future, and we hope that then you will join as well. Yeah, so you become an alumni of the summer camp. You can join the second, the third, and so on. So you need to use your community contacts, your NGO. If you have an NGO that you are a member of, if you're not a member of any NGO, please join an Islamic NGO, a Muslim NGO in your country. This will be the way that you are able to get support from your colleagues, yeah, from your fellow brothers and sisters, so that it will be a joint effort, not just you yourself doing things alone. This will be very, very, very challenging, right? So come together, work together, and especially, as I told you, as graduates, you are the leaders. So if all of you as leaders or potential leaders in the future, if you come together, you become a very strong force. There are many examples I can give. Maybe Dr. Shafiq, when he comes to speak to you all this afternoon, he will give the example in Australia, all right? And I personally, I know of experiences in the UK, in England, as well as in America, how the Muslim community is very advanced, very advanced. They don't get support from the establishment, right? Because the countries are not going to support, you know, the spread of Islam, but they do it on their own because they are a minority community. So really, you have to take the opportunity, get together with your group of colleagues in this platform, as well as maybe in your own community, work. What do you work for? You want to put your knowledge into practice. Of course, this knowledge has to be knowledge that is in line with the Islamic worldview and the Sharia. So work together. I think this is the main message. Yes, next comment or query.
Brother Thabun, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm a university student from Myanmar. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Proceed.
Yeah. So in Myanmar, we have Islamic University where we can learn Islamic aspects and science too. But the university is not recognized by the government. So like the main problem is that the government is not recognized the university, and if we choose the university, we can get any degree or any bachelor from government side. That's why people are more like they choose government education more instead of joining Islamic universities. That's the main problem we are facing right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Thar. I see the challenge in Myanmar. It is no different than in many other minority Muslim countries. If you go to a university that is not recognized, and even in Malaysia, there are many private universities that are established, and sometimes the degree is not fully recognized yet. Okay, so you cannot get a government job. Okay, but that doesn't mean you cannot get a job in the private sector, or that you cannot do it with your own community, right? I mean, I can give examples, even graduates of IIUM. Although our graduates are established all over the world, we do have some countries that still do not recognize the IIUM degree, especially certain degrees like law, you know, the ones that have the professional exam. Sometimes they may not recognize yet. So you need to do the professional exam and to show that you are qualified. But in the case of Myanmar, it may be a bit different because it is an issue of getting the recognition from the government. So please work with the community to try and convince the government that that Islamic university is not only teaching religion, but it is also going to be a university that provides good manpower for the country. Right? And if you can convince by showing the curriculum, by showing the teachers, they are qualified, they have PhDs, the curriculum teaches the modern sciences, but at the same time we add the Islamic values, yeah, which is actually positive, yeah, not negative. Of course, you can have also some things that may not be seen. If you can show that, you will get the support of governments. So you need to work with your community. I believe in our IIIT, Dr. Maulana is the representative in Myanmar, and there will be efforts on his part to organize this program and also to work with, you know, the community leaders in Myanmar. You have to think about how you can make this presentation slowly. Of course, it has to be slowly. Yeah? One important lesson that we learn. Things cannot happen immediately, yeah, in 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. It will take a lot of effort, right? But who will do this? It will be people like you. You are the one that is going to be the leaders of your community. So you must be able to present the case. So one is work together with your community to try and get the recognition, and in the meantime, work on your own private sector, you know, in your own community. We can give many examples in many parts of the world that face the same problem that you are facing. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I hope it's under the question. So it is refer back to Professor Aslam presentation. That is a political will, the resource, the teacher, the lecturers, and a tool, a curriculum. So I think it is a very good bring home tip for us as a minority Muslim living in a majority non-Muslim country. So political will is very important, and as a leader, as a young leaders, it is we are not going to point a finger to other, but to ourselves as a young leaders to take it and work together with Brother Madil from the Philippines. Raised his hand. Madil?
Yeah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and thank you so much, Prof, for the very interesting topic and an expert of this. I think it is interesting to us also a question of like the challenges that a certain country like Malaysia, because we know we're the same, you know, we're facing the same experiences also. Now, how did Malaysia get its government to recognize informal education system like the madrasa? I'm asking this because you know, Muslim scholars in my country were minorities. Are not able to teach in a higher education institution because they're not recognized by the government. And but I know already you mentioned some parts of this, but it's good to, you know, to elaborate further. Recognized by the government since they are not a result of the Western type of education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Madil. I really hope Datuk Jamil may also add his own views on this, because I may not know in detail about how to go about or how the religious institutions were recognized in Malaysia. But in Malaysia, and I'm sure also in other countries, whether it is Indonesia or for that matter, even in Muslim minority countries, there can be different types of Islamic schools. There are certain Islamic schools that get funding from the government. This is in the case of Malaysia. They get the funding from the government. So they are government Islamic schools. All right. Then there are Islamic schools that may be private but recognized by the government. In other words, the government has given certain even allocation. Yeah. Why? Because these schools have registered. They have shown their what are the programs they are doing. They have shown the curriculum. They have met certain requirements, right? So these are private institutions, but recognized by the government. Okay, and then thirdly, we also in Malaysia, we also have schools that are not recognized by the government. So we do have this group of schools as well. Maybe not that many, because people would like to have some recognition. So these people who go to the non-recognized schools, what do? Well, they cannot work with the government, right? But they may have their own plan. They may go and study in a country which, after they finish their school, they may get admission into higher education university in some other overseas country, and then they may come back and they work privately. They become ustaz, they teach Quran, there are people like that, right? So there are government Islamic schools, there are private schools that are recognized by the government, and there are also some that are not. So as I told in the previous question, you need to have this, presentation to the authorities if you want to seek recognition. You have to show them how many students you have, how many staff you have, what is the qualification of the staff, what are you teaching, what are your facilities. Only after all of this is shown can you get recognition. So, if you are confident that you would like to have recognition of the government, then you need to prepare. Whether it is Islamic school or it is, private school teaching just the normal conventional subject, you still, at least in the case of Malaysia, you need to get the approval of Ministry of Education. So we go through that process. I'm not sure if Dr. Jamil has any additional point. Maybe he can add on this.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much.
The situation is similar to all countries, as what has been mentioned by Professor Aslam. Number one, before we establish the school must go through a proper channel, as you said. Must go through the Ministry of Education. When they recognize the school, they will look at the curriculum, and they look at the teachers, and then they will give the recognition. I think Malaysia at one time, even the University Azhar, when they came back, the graduate of the Azhar, when they come back to Malaysia, they are not recognized, because the people in ministry at that time consider Azhar is not recognized by Malaysian government. So, but slowly, inshallah, alhamdulillah, in Malaysia, after there was a reform of education in the country, all the private universities are coming in, and you can see that religious schools are recognized in here. So we have to fight a lot. I think Brother Alvin can also share. In Cambodia, we are establishing an Islamic university there, but the university is going to be recognized by the government because the political linkage is very important. That was mentioned by Professor Aslam. Thank you. Just to add.
Thank you, Dato'. Now we are having Brother Van Bandi from Cambodia.